Read technique. The Read method is a system of interviewing and interrogation widely used by police departments in many countries of the world. The Read technique is a method of interrogating suspects that was developed in the 1950s by John E. Reed, an American psychologist, polygraph expert, and former Chicago police officer. Supporters argue that the Read technique, a psychological method, is useful in extracting information from otherwise unwilling suspects. Critics of the technique charge that it can elicit an unacceptably high rate of false confessions from innocent people, especially juveniles. Components of Read technique. The Read technique involves three components: factual analysis, interviewing, and interrogation. Following is a brief summary of these components. Factual analysis. The Read website describes factual analysis as an inductive approach where each individual suspect is evaluated with respect to specific observations relating to the crime. Consequently, factual analysis relies not only on crime scene analysis, but also on information learned about each suspect. Applying factual analysis results in establishing an estimate of a particular suspect's probable guilt or innocence based on such things as the suspect's biosocial status, gender, race, occupation, marital status, etc., opportunity and access to commit the crime, their behavior before and after the crime, their motivations and propensity to commit the crime, and evaluation of physical and circumstantial evidence. This factual analysis is also intended to identify characteristics about the suspect and the crime which will be helpful during an interrogation of the suspect believed to be guilty, such as motive or the suspect's personality type. 2. Behavior analysis interview. The Read website describes the behavior analysis interview, BAI, as a non-accusatory question and answer session involving both standard investigative questions and structured behavior-provoking questions to elicit behavior symptoms of truth or deception from the person being interviewed. The investigator first asks background questions to establish personal information about the suspect and allow the investigator to evaluate the suspect's normal verbal and nonverbal behavior. The investigator then asks behavior-provoking questions intended to elicit different verbal and nonverbal responses from truthful and deceptive suspects. The investigator will also ask some investigative questions during this stage. 3. Interrogation. The Read technique says that an interrogation should only occur when the investigator is reasonably certain of the suspect's involvement in the issue under investigation. There are 9 steps to the Read interrogation technique, briefly described below. 1. Positive confrontation. The investigator will tell the suspect that the evidence demonstrates the person's guilt. If the person's guilt seems clear to the investigator. 2. Theme development. The investigator then presents a moral justification for the offense, such as placing the moral blame not on the suspect, but on someone else or external circumstances. The investigator presents the theme in a monologue and in a sympathetic manner. 3. Handling denials. When the suspect asks for permission to speak at this stage, likely to deny the accusations, the investigator should discourage allowing the suspect to do so. The Read technique asserts that innocent suspects are less likely to ask for permission and more likely to promptly and unequivocally deny the accusation. The technique states that it is very rare for an innocent suspect to move past this denial state. 4. Overcoming objections. When attempts at denial do not succeed, a guilty suspect often makes objections to support a claim of innocence, e.g., "I would never do that because I love my job." The investigator should generally accept these objections as if they were truthful, rather than arguing with the suspect, and use the objections to further develop the theme. 5. Procurement and retention of suspect's attention. The investigator must procure the suspect's attention so that the suspect focuses on the investigator's theme rather than on punishment. One way the investigator can do this is to close the physical distance between himself or herself and the suspect. The investigator should also channel the theme down to the probable alternative components. 6. Handling the suspect's passive mood. The investigator should intensify the theme presentation and concentrate on the central reasons he or she is offering as psychological justification, and continue to display an understanding and sympathetic demeanor in urging the suspect to tell the truth. 7. Presenting an alternative question. The investigator should present two choices, assuming the suspect's guilt and developed as a logical extension from the theme, with one alternative offering a better justification for the crime. E.g., did you plan this thing out or did it just happen on the Reed technique? The Reed method is a system of interviewing and interrogation widely used by police departments